Christmas Eve. Noah Pierce sat in his truck outside downtown cafe, staring at the text from his friend. "Just coffee with friends," she had said. Through the window he saw it. 1 table, 2 chairs, candles already lit. No his friends, just a woman in scrubs sitting alone, waiting. Noah's hand moved to the gear shift. He was leaving. Then he saw the hospital logo on her uniform, the same place his wife had worked before the accident. The woman looked up, met his eyes through the glass, and mouthed that stopped him cold. Noah turned off the engine but did not move. His hand stayed on the wheel, knuckles white. Through the cafe window, the woman in scrubs glanced at her phone, then back toward the door. She was waiting for him. He knew that now. Tara had set this up. Ben probably helped. They thought they were doing him a favor, pushing him back into the world like he was some kind of charity case. He was not interested. He had told them that 100 times, but they never listened. He reached for his phone and typed fast. "Nice try. Not happening." He hit send and watched the screen. 3 dots appeared immediately. Tara was typing. He did not wait to see what she would say. He shoved the phone into his coat pocket and opened the door. Cold air hit his face. The street was loud with Christmas music bleeding out from shops, people laughing, couples holding hands under strings of lights. Noah hated all of it. He hated the decorations. He hated the carols. He hated the way everyone pretended this time of year meant something when all it did was remind him of what he lost. He walked toward the cafe entrance, not because he wanted to go inside, but because he needed to cross the parking lot to leave. That was the plan. Walk past the window, get to his truck, drive home to Sophie, tell her he tried. She would believe him. She always did. But as he passed the glass, something stopped him. The woman inside was not looking at her phone anymore. She was looking directly at him. And she was not smiling. She looked nervous, scared even. That was not the expression of someone on a blind date. That was the expression of someone carrying bad news. Noah stopped. The woman stood up slowly, and that was when he saw it clearly. The hospital logo on her scrubs. St. Mary Medical Center. The same place Amanda had worked for 6 years. The same place she used to complain about during dinner, laughing about doctors who could not work the coffee machine or patients who flirted with her even though she wore a wedding ring. Amanda had loved that job. She had loved saving people. And now, this stranger was wearing the same uniform, sitting in a cafe on Christmas Eve, looking at him like she knew something he did not. Noah pushed open the door. The warmth inside felt suffocating. A hostess smiled at him and gestured toward the tables, but he ignored her. He walked straight to the table by the window. The woman sat back down when she saw him coming. Her hands were folded on the table, fingers laced tight. She had dark hair pulled into a ponytail and tired eyes that looked like they had seen too many late shifts. There was a name tag clipped to her scrubs. Hannah Brooks, RN. Noah did not recognize the name, but that did not mean anything. Amanda had worked with dozens of nurses. He stood at the edge of the table and did not sit. His voice came out flat and hard. "Who are you?" Hannah looked up at him. She did not flinch. "My name is Hannah. I worked with your wife." Noah felt something tighten in his chest. He hated hearing people say that. Your wife. Like Amanda was still a job title, still a role someone could reference in past tense. He crossed his arms. "And?" Hannah gestured to the empty chair across from her. "Please, sit." "I'm not staying," Noah said. "I don't know what Tara told you, but I'm not interested in whatever this is." Hannah shook her head quickly. "This isn't what you think." "Yeah," Noah said. "Then what is it?" Hannah's eyes flicked to the table, then back to him. She looked like she was deciding something. Finally, she said, "I'm here because Amanda asked me to be." The words hit Noah like cold water. He stared at her. "What did you just say?" "Amanda asked me to meet you," Hannah said. Her voice was steady now, but there was something underneath it. Something that sounded like guilt. 2 years ago, before the accident, she made me promise. Noah did not move. He could not. His brain was trying to process what he was hearing, but nothing made sense. Amanda had been dead for 2 years. She could not ask anyone to do anything. This woman was lying, or confused, or part of some sick joke Tara thought would help him move on. He took a step back from the table. "I'm leaving." "Wait," Hannah said. She stood up fast, almost knocking her chair over. "Please, just 5 minutes, that's all I'm asking." Noah turned toward the door. He was done. He did not care what this woman thought she knew about Amanda. He did not care what promise she thought she made. He was not going to sit here and be manipulated by a stranger wearing his dead wife's uniform. But then Hannah said something that froze him in place. "She knew you'd walk away," Hannah said quietly. "She told me you would. She said you'd see the uniform and think it was some kind of setup. But she also said if I told you about Sophie, you'd stay." Noah spun around. His voice came out sharp. "Don't you dare bring my daughter into this!" Hannah held up her hands. "I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm trying to help you. Amanda wanted me to help you." Noah stood there, breathing hard. People at other tables were starting to look. The hostess hovered near the counter, unsure if she should intervene. Noah did not care. He walked back to the table and leaned down, his voice low and cold. "You have 2 minutes. Talk." Hannah sat down slowly. She looked relieved, but also terrified. Noah pulled out the chair across from her and sat. He did not take off his coat. He did not relax. He just stared at her and waited. Hannah folded her hands again. Her fingers were shaking. "Amanda and I worked the night shift together for 3 years. We were close, really close. We'd cover each other's breaks, trade shifts when one of us needed time off. She talked about you all the time, about Sophie, about how much she loved Christmas." Noah felt his jaw tighten. He did not want to hear this. He did not want to remember Amanda talking about Christmas like it was something magical. She used to drag him to every holiday event in town. Tree lightings, cookie swaps, midnight mass, even though neither of them were religious. She loved all of it. And now it was just another thing that reminded him she was gone. "About 6 months before the accident," Hannah continued, "Amanda started acting different. She was quieter, more serious. One night she pulled me aside during our shift and told me she was scared." Hannah looked down at her hands. "She said she had this feeling, like something bad was going to happen. She didn't know what, but she wanted to make sure that if it did, you and Sophie would be okay." Noah felt his throat go dry. "What are you talking about?" Hannah reached into her bag and pulled out a small envelope. It was sealed, slightly worn at the edges like it had been carried around for a long time. On the front, in Amanda's familiar script, was one line: "Open on Christmas Eve." Noah stared at it. His hand stayed on the table. He did not reach for it. "She gave this to me," Hannah said. "She told me to wait 2 years. She said if something happened to her, you'd need time. But not too much time. Because if you waited too long, you'd disappear completely. And Sophie would grow up with a father who was only half there." Noah's chest felt tight. He could not look away from the envelope. The neat, careful lettering was exactly the way he remembered it. The kind of handwriting that belonged to someone who made lists and never forgot a birthday. He wanted to grab the envelope and rip it open. He also wanted to stand up and leave and never think about this moment again. "Why now?" Noah asked. His voice sounded rough. "Why tonight?" Hannah's eyes were wet. Because Amanda told me to. She said Christmas Eve. 2 years after. No sooner, no later. She said you'd be ready. Noah laughed, but it came out bitter. Ready? I'm not ready for anything. Hannah slid the envelope across the table. She said you'd say that too. Noah stared at the envelope. He did not pick it up. He looked at Hannah instead. What else did she say? Hannah swallowed hard. She said that if I saw you walk through that door, I should tell you one thing. Her voice cracked. She said to tell you that Sophie still believes in Christmas, even if you don't. Noah felt something break inside him. He thought about Sophie that morning, standing in the kitchen, asking if they could put up a tree this year. Just a small one. She had asked so quietly, like she already knew the answer. And he had told her no. Not this year. Maybe next year. The same thing he said last year. The same thing he would probably say next year too, because he could not do it. He could not pretend everything was fine when it was not. He could not put up lights and sing carols and act like their family was not missing the one person who made it whole. But Sophie did not understand that. She was 7 years old. She just wanted a tree. And he had said no. Again. Noah reached across the table and picked up the envelope. Noah held the envelope but did not open it. His fingers traced the edge where Amanda had sealed it, probably sitting at their kitchen table late at night while he was asleep upstairs. She had planned this. She had known something might happen. And she had trusted this stranger to carry out her final wish. That thought made him angry. Not at Amanda. At himself. Because he had spent 2 years convinced he was the only one who truly understood what losing her meant. And now he was finding out she had been 3 steps ahead of him the entire time. He set the envelope down on the table and looked at Hannah. How long have you been carrying this? Hannah's voice was quiet. 2 years, since the week after the funeral. Noah felt his stomach turn. You were at the funeral? She nodded. In the back. I didn't come up to you. I couldn't. I didn't know what to say. And you've been holding on to this the whole time, Noah said. It was not a question. It was an accusation. Hannah heard it in his tone. She looked down at her hands. I wanted to give it to you sooner, she said. Every Christmas I thought about it. But Amanda was very specific. She said 2 years. She said you'd need that time to feel the weight of it, to understand what you were losing by shutting everyone out. Noah's jaw clenched. She said that? Hannah met his eyes. Not in those words, but that's what she meant. Noah leaned back in his chair. The cafe felt too warm now, too crowded. A family at the next table was laughing about something, their kids arguing over who got the last cookie. He could not stand the sound of it. He looked at Hannah again. Why did she pick you? Hannah's expression shifted. There was something in her eyes now. Guilt. Because I was the one who asked her to come in that night. Noah went still. What? Hannah's hands tightened into fists on the table. The night of the accident. I was supposed to work a double shift, but I was exhausted. I'd been covering for people all week. So I called Amanda. I asked if she could come in and take the second half of my shift. She said yes. She always said yes. Hannah's voice cracked. She got in her car and drove to the hospital, and she never made it. Noah felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. He stared at Hannah, trying to process what she had just told him. All this time, he had blamed himself. He had replayed that night over and over, remembering the argument they had before Amanda left. It had been stupid. Something about him wanting to stay home and watch a game instead of going out to dinner. Amanda had been annoyed. She had grabbed her keys and left. He thought she was going for a drive to clear her head, but she was not. She was going to cover Hannah's shift. And he had never known. Noah felt rage building in his chest, hot and fast. He leaned forward. "You're telling me she died because you were tired?" Hannah flinched but did not look away. "Yes." Noah's voice came out low and sharp. "And you've known this the whole time. You've been walking around, living your life, knowing that if you hadn't made that call, my wife would still be alive." "I know," Hannah said. Her voice was barely above a whisper. "I know that every single day." Noah stood up fast. His chair scraped against the floor. People turned to look. He did not care. He wanted to leave. He wanted to grab the envelope and walk out and never see this woman again. But his feet would not move, because there was something else he needed to know. He looked down at Hannah, his voice shaking. "Does anyone else know?" Hannah shook her head. "Just me. And now you." "Why are you telling me this?" Noah demanded. "Why now? Why?" Hannah finally looked up at him. Her eyes were red. "Because Amanda made me promise to tell you. She said if I didn't, you'd spend the rest of your life blaming yourself. She said you'd think it was your fault because you argued with her that night. But it wasn't. It was mine." Noah felt his chest tighten. Amanda had known. Of course she had known. She had always been able to read him better than he could read himself. She had known he would carry the guilt of that argument for the rest of his life. So she had left him a way out, a way to shift the blame. Except now, it was not guilt he felt. It was fury. He looked at Hannah, and his voice came out cold. "So what? I'm supposed to forgive you? Is that what this is?" Hannah shook her head quickly. "No, I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm just trying to keep my promise to her." Noah wanted to say something cruel. He wanted to tell her she had no right to keep promises to a dead woman when she was the reason that woman was dead. But the words would not come. Because somewhere deep down, he knew Amanda would not want him to say them. Amanda had never been cruel. Even when she was angry, even when she was hurt, she never lashed out. She found a way to understand people, to forgive them, and she had clearly forgiven Hannah, or she would not have trusted her with this. Noah sat back down. He felt exhausted suddenly, like all the anger had drained out of him and left nothing behind. He stared at the envelope on the table. "What else did she tell you?" Hannah took a shaky breath. "She told me about Sophie, about how much she loved Christmas, how you used to decorate the house together every year. Lights on the porch, stockings over the fireplace, a tree in the living room with ornaments Sophie made in school." Hannah's voice softened. "She said that if anything happened to her, she was afraid you'd stop doing all of that. She was afraid Sophie would grow up thinking Christmas was something sad instead of something beautiful." Noah felt a lump forming in his throat. He thought about Sophie again. The way she had looked at him that morning, so hopeful and small. The way her face had fallen when he said no to the tree. He had told himself he was protecting her. He had told himself it was better to avoid the pain than to pretend everything was fine. But maybe he had been wrong. Maybe he had been so focused on his own grief that he had forgotten Sophie was grieving too. Hannah reached into her bag again and pulled out her phone. She tapped the screen a few times, then turned it toward Noah. "Tara sent me this last week." Noah looked at the screen. It was a photo of Sophie. She was standing outside a restaurant, her face pressed against the window. Inside, a family was gathered around a table, laughing. Behind them was a Christmas tree, decorated with lights and ornaments. Sophie's expression was blank, empty, like she was looking at something she could never have. Noah felt his hands start to shake. He had seen that look before. It was the same look Amanda had when she talked about patients she could not save. The same look she had when she realized there was nothing more she could do. It was the look of someone who had stopped hoping. "She took this while they were out shopping," Hannah said quietly. "Tara didn't think Sophie saw her, but I think she did. I think Sophie knows people are worried about her. And I think she's trying to be okay for you." Noah could not look at the photo anymore. He pushed the phone back across the table. His voice came out rough. "What do you want from me?" Hannah set the phone down. "I don't want anything. Amanda wanted something. She wanted you to know that it's okay to move forward. It's okay to let Sophie have Christmas again. It's okay to stop punishing yourself." "I'm not punishing myself," Noah said, but even as he said it, he knew it was a lie. He had been punishing himself for 2 years. Every time Sophie asked for something normal, something happy, he said no. Every time his friends invited him out, he turned them down. Every time he thought about doing something that might make him feel better, he shut it down. Because feeling better meant moving on, and moving on meant forgetting. And he could not forget Amanda. He would not. Hannah leaned forward. "She didn't want you to forget her. She just didn't want you to stop living." Noah stared at the envelope again. His hand hovered over it. "What's in it?" Hannah shook her head. "I don't know. She sealed it before she gave it to me, but she said it would help you understand." Noah picked up the envelope. It was light. Whatever was inside was small. A letter, maybe. Or a note. He turned it over in his hands. The seal was still intact. The familiar loops of her writing stared back at him. "Open on Christmas Eve." He had thought about opening it the moment Hannah handed it to him, but now he was not sure he wanted to, because once he opened it, that would be it. There would be no more messages from Amanda, no more surprises. This was the last thing she would ever say to him. He set the envelope down and looked at Hannah. "I need a minute." Hannah nodded. "Take your time." Noah stood up and walked toward the back of the cafe. There was a hallway near the restrooms, quieter and dimmer than the main room. He leaned against the wall and closed his eyes. His head was spinning. Everything Hannah had told him felt impossible. Amanda planning this. Amanda knowing he would shut down. Amanda trusting a stranger to pull him out of it. And the worst part was, she had been right. He had shut down. He had stopped living. He had turned into exactly the kind of father she had been afraid he would become. He thought about Sophie again. About the way she used to run downstairs on Christmas morning, so excited she could barely speak. About the way Amanda would make hot chocolate and let Sophie open one present before breakfast. About the way the three of them would sit on the couch together, wrapped in blankets, watching the snow fall outside. Those memories felt so far away now, like they belonged to a different life, a different version of himself. Noah opened his eyes and walked back to the table. Hannah was still sitting there, waiting. He sat down and picked up the envelope. "If I open this, and it doesn't say what you think it says, I'm done. I'm walking out of here and you're never contacting me again." Hannah nodded. "Okay." Noah broke the seal. Inside was a single piece of paper, folded in half. He opened it carefully. Her neat, careful lettering filled the page, but it was only 2 lines, short and clear. "Noah, if you're reading this, it means I'm gone. Don't make our love a prison. Live for Sophie. Live for yourself. Live for me." Noah read it 3 times. His vision blurred. His hands shook. He set the paper down on the table and covered his face with his hands. He did not make a sound, but his shoulders shook. He felt Hannah reach across the table and place her hand over his. She did not say anything. She just sat there, waiting. When Noah finally looked up, his eyes were red. His voice came out raw. "I don't know how." Hannah's voice was steady. "You start small. You go home tonight. You find 1 string of lights. Just 1. And you hang it for Sophie." Noah wiped his face with the back of his hand. "That's it?" "That's it," Hannah said. "You don't have to do everything at once. You just have to do something." Noah looked at the note again. Amanda's words felt like a hand reaching out from the past, pulling him back toward the surface. He had been drowning for 2 years, and she had known. She had always known. He folded the note carefully and put it back in the envelope. Then he looked at Hannah. "Why did you really come here tonight?" Hannah's expression softened. "Because I owed it to her, and because I owed it to you." Noah nodded slowly. He understood now. This was not about forgiveness. It was not about moving on or letting go. It was about making a choice. He could keep punishing himself, keep drowning, keep dragging Sophie down with him. Or he could do what Amanda asked. He could try. He stood up and picked up the envelope. Then he pulled out his phone and opened his contacts. "Give me your number," Hannah told him. Noah typed it in and saved it. He looked at her one more time. "Thank you." Hannah's eyes filled with tears, but she smiled. "Merry Christmas, Noah." Noah did not say it back. He could not yet, but he nodded, and that felt like enough. He walked toward the door, the envelope in his hand, Amanda's words echoing in his head. Outside, the cold air hit him hard. The street was still loud with music and laughter. The lights were still too bright. But this time, Noah did not look away. He stood there for a long moment, staring up at the decorations strung across the street. Then he pulled out his phone and typed a message to Sophie. "I'll be home soon. Let's put up a tree." He hit send before he could change his mind. Then he walked to his truck, got in, and drove home. The envelope sat on the passenger seat beside him, and for the first time in 2 years, Noah did not feel like he was running away from something. He felt like he was running toward it. Noah drove through streets he had avoided for 2 years. Every house was covered in lights. Every yard had inflatable snowmen or glowing reindeer. He used to hate driving through these neighborhoods during December. It felt like the entire world was mocking him, showing him what a normal family looked like while his was broken beyond repair. But tonight, something was different. Tonight, he was not looking away. He was searching for something. A sign. A direction. Anything that would tell him he was doing the right thing. His phone buzzed in the cup holder. He glanced down and saw Sophie's reply. "Really?" Her message was followed by 3 question marks. Noah felt his chest tighten. She did not believe him. Why would she? He had let her down so many times. He had promised her things would get better, and then did nothing to make that true. He typed back quickly, one hand on the wheel. "Really? I promise." He hit send and kept driving. When he pulled into the driveway, the house looked dark. He had left one lamp on in the living room, but that was it. No porch lights, no wreath on the door, nothing that said people lived here, let alone that it was Christmas Eve. Noah sat in the truck for a moment, staring at the house. Amanda used to cover the porch in lights, white ones that wrapped around the railings and framed the door. She said it made the house look like it was glowing. Sophie used to stand at the window every night, watching them blink on and off. Noah had not turned them on since Amanda died. He had not even checked to see if they still worked. He grabbed the envelope from the passenger seat and got out. The cold hit him harder now that he was not moving. He walked up the driveway and unlocked the front door. Inside, the house was quiet. Sophie was probably in her room, homework spread out on her bed, pretending she was not waiting for him. Noah set his keys on the table by the door and walked into the living room. The lamp cast long shadows across the walls. He sat down on the couch and opened the envelope again. Amanda's note was still folded inside. He pulled it out and read it one more time. "Don't make our love a prison. Live for Sophie. Live for yourself. Live for me." The words felt heavier now, sitting in his own house. This was where they had built their life together. This was where they had argued about what color to paint the kitchen. This was where they had brought Sophie home from the hospital, terrified and exhausted, and so happy they could not stop smiling. And this was where Noah had spent the last 2 years trying to freeze everything in place. Like if he did not change anything, Amanda might walk back through the door. He folded the note and put it back in the envelope. Then he stood up and walked to the garage. The door creaked when he opened it. He flipped on the light and looked around. Boxes were stacked against the walls, each one labeled in her familiar script. Christmas decorations, outdoor lights, tree stand, ornaments. Noah had shoved them all in here the week after the funeral. He had told himself he would deal with them later. But later never came. He pulled down the box labeled outdoor lights and carried it back into the house. The box was heavier than he remembered. He set it on the floor and opened it. Inside were tangled strings of white lights, the same ones Amanda used to hang every year. Noah pulled one string out and plugged it in. Half the bulbs lit up. The other half stayed dark. He unplugged it and pulled out another string. This one worked. He grabbed a few more and carried them outside. The porch was freezing. His breath came out in clouds. He looked at the railing and tried to remember how Amanda used to do this. She always started at the left side and worked her way across, wrapping the lights around the posts and tucking the cords behind the wood so they would not show. Noah plugged in the first string and started wrapping. The lights tangled almost immediately. He stopped and untangled them, then tried again. It took him 10 minutes to get one side done. By the time he finished, his hands were numb and his patience was gone. But the lights were up, and when he plugged them in, they worked. He stepped back and looked at the house. It was not much, just one string of lights wrapped around half the porch. But it was something. It was more than he had done in 2 years. He stood there for a long time, staring at the lights, waiting to feel something. Relief, pride, anything. But all he felt was tired. He turned and walked back inside. Sophie was standing in the hallway. She was wearing her pajamas, her hair pulled back into a messy bun. She looked at him like she was not sure if he was real. Noah stopped in the doorway and looked at her. "Hey." Sophie's voice was small. "You put up lights?" "Just one string," Noah said. "I'll do more tomorrow." Sophie walked closer. She looked out the window at the porch, then back at him. Why? Noah did not know how to answer that. Because a stranger told him to. Because Amanda left him a note. Because he was tired of being stuck. None of those felt like the right thing to say. So he just said the truth. "Because you deserve to have Christmas." Sophie's eyes filled with tears. She wiped them away quickly, but Noah saw. He knelt down so he was at her level. "I know I've been a bad dad. I know I've said no to everything. But I'm going to try. I can't promise I'll be good at it. But I'm going to try." Sophie threw her arms around his neck. She did not say anything. She just held on. Noah wrapped his arms around her and held her back. He could not remember the last time they had hugged like this. Months, maybe. He had been so focused on keeping himself together that he had forgotten Sophie needed him to fall apart sometimes, to be human, to let her see that he was struggling too. When Sophie pulled back, she was smiling. It was a small smile, fragile and uncertain, but it was there. She looked up at him. "Can we get a tree tomorrow?" Noah nodded. "We can get a tree tomorrow." Sophie's smile grew. "And ornaments." "And ornaments," Noah said. "And hot chocolate?" Noah felt his throat tighten. Amanda used to make hot chocolate every Christmas Eve. She had a whole routine. Marshmallows on top. Whipped cream if they had it. She would sit with Sophie on the couch, and they would watch old Christmas movies until Sophie fell asleep. Noah had not made hot chocolate since Amanda died. He did not know if he could. But he looked at Sophie and nodded. "And hot chocolate." Sophie hugged him again. Then she ran upstairs, her footsteps loud on the wooden floor. Noah stood up slowly. His knees ached. His hands were still cold from being outside. But something inside him felt lighter. Not fixed, not healed, just lighter. Like he had been carrying something heavy for so long that he had forgotten what it felt like to set it down. He walked back to the living room and sat on the couch. The envelope was still on the coffee table. He picked it up and traced the edges with his finger. He thought about Hannah, sitting alone in that cafe, carrying 2 years of guilt because she had asked Amanda to cover a shift. He thought about Tara and Ben, setting up a blind date because they were worried about him. He thought about Sophie, standing outside a restaurant, looking at a family she would never have. And he thought about Amanda, planning all of this before she died, knowing exactly what he would need to hear. Noah pulled out his phone and opened his messages. He scrolled to Tara's name and typed, "I'm sorry I got mad. Thank you for caring." He hit send before he could overthink it. Then he found Hannah's contact and typed slowly, "You were right. I hung the lights. Sophie is happy. Thank you." He hit send and set the phone down. A few minutes later, his phone buzzed. It was Tara. "I'm just glad you're okay. Merry Christmas, Noah." Then another buzz. "Hannah, I'm proud of you. Amanda would be too." Noah read both messages but did not reply. He did not need to. He set the phone down and leaned back on the couch. Outside, the single string of lights blinked on and off, casting faint shadows across the yard. Noah closed his eyes. He thought about tomorrow, about going to get a tree with Sophie, about untangling more lights and hanging ornaments and making hot chocolate. It all felt impossible, but it also felt necessary, because Amanda was right. He had been living in a prison he built himself, and the only way out was to start tearing down the walls. He did not know if he would ever stop missing her. He did not know if Christmas would ever feel the same. But he knew one thing: Sophie deserved better than a father who had given up. She deserved lights and trees and hot chocolate. She deserved to believe in something again. And if Noah could give her that, even for one night, then maybe he could learn to believe again too. He opened his eyes and looked at the envelope one more time. Then he stood up, walked to the mantel, and placed it next to a photo of Amanda. She was smiling in the picture, her arms around Sophie, her eyes bright and full of life. Noah stared at the photo for a long time. Then he whispered, "I'm trying." And for the first time in 2 years, he meant it.